Mic off. Interesting. Okay, so everybody online, we just talked about question 1 and you heard nothing. Question 2. Um, the 30th sonnet is about a lot of sad stuff in life, and it concludes with the good memory of a friend. And the question is, which one seems to be the focus of the poem, the sad parts or the friend? Now, the first thing to know is that in this period, the word friend can have many different meanings. It doesn't necessarily mean your good buddy. It could even mean a lover. So, when to the sessions of sweet silent thought I summon up remembrance of things past. So when I'm sitting in silence and I remember stuff from the past. And then all of these memories are negative. The lack of many a thing I sought, so things that I wanted and did not get. Old woes, new wail, my dear time's waste. So in addition to earlier sad stuff, I also add to that the sadness of like, I have wasted so much time in my life. To drown an eye and the word flow, these refer to tears. Precious friends hid in death, which means they've died. Love's long since canceled woe, so old heartbreak. The expense of many a vanished sight. So many things I can no longer see. Maybe they have gone. Maybe the friends have died. Maybe the speaker is now blind. And then lines 9 to 12 summarize all of these details, which is like, I was sad before, now I'm even sadder. I'm adding sadness to sadness, and I'm feeling all of my feelings over again. And then lines 13 and 14 very quickly say, but then I think about you, my quote, friend, and all of this stuff goes away and I'm no longer sad. That seems kind of fast, right? You spend 12 lines saying life is terrible, my memories are terrible, and then lines 13 and 14 go, but that's fine, at least I remember you. Doesn't feel quite sincere, that last twist. So group 2 gave 2 answers. The first answer is that, yes, because of these reasons, the focus is actually on the sad parts, and the happy ending is simply because a sonnet needs a twist. Shakespeare gave a conventional twist. It doesn't really carry a lot of feeling. It's simply the end of the poem. But we can also think about group two's other answer, which is, in fact, the emphasis is on the friend, because the poem says when they think about this friend, everything above is no longer that sad. Which means the more sadness we have in the first part, the more is canceled out when the speaker thinks of their friend. So in fact, like the sadder the first part, the happier the ending is because it's a twist. And as for the language, they noticed that group two noticed that yes, there's a lot of very like poetic literary language in the first part talking about all of this sad stuff, and the ending seems very simple in language, very straightforward. But that could also add to the power of that conclusion. If you're reading this poem and you're struggling through the first 12 lines and you finally reach line 13 and everything becomes easy and simple and clear and you understand that ending, it feels like it is ending your suffering, right? It feels like your negative emotions have come to an end. It's the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So from this perspective, the emphasis could be on that friend, that the friend whose memory makes all of these complicated, sorrowful emotions simple again. The memory of this friend who cuts through all of these negative emotions. So, in fact, depending on how you look at this poem, you could say that the emphasis is on the sad parts, or that the emphasis is on the friend who ends these sad memories. So on the surface, it looks like the poem is unbalanced, but there is a balance depending between the two perspectives that you could take on this poem. Right? You could say like the emphasis is on the longer parts, but you could also say that it's the shorter part that is more powerful. And both of these answers could make sense. Do you have other thoughts or questions about this one? All right. Question 3. The speaker of Sonnet 35, is he really blaming, or are they really blaming themselves? Are they really angry? So let's look at 35. Oh, sorry. 35. Okay. No more be grieved at that which thou hast done. The thing that you just did, don't worry about it. Roses have thorns and silver fountains mud. Even these beautiful things have their ugly parts. So, as you can see, the speaker is trying to comfort the addressee. You feel dirty because you did something, don't worry about it. Look at all of these other beautiful things also have their dirty and ugly parts. Clouds and eclipses stain both moon and sun, same idea. And loathsome canker lives in sweetest bud. Same idea, right? Beautiful stuff all have their ugly sides. All men make faults, and of course, by man, the speaker means humans. All humans make mistakes, and even I in this, like in fact, I am currently making a mistake. What is the mistake? Authorizing thy trespass with compare. By comparing your mistake to all of these beautiful images, I'm already forgiving you. I'm already justifying your offense. A trespass is an offense. And by justifying your actions, next line, myself corrupting, solving thy amiss. So by comforting you and forgiving you, I am corrupting myself. Excusing thy sins more than thy sins are. So like the terrible thing you did, I'm giving you too much forgiveness for that thing. Line 9, we have a new idea. For to thy sensual fault I bring in sense. So the mistake that you made, and it uses the word sensual. Sensual means related to the body. So the addressee is probably a lover who cheated on the speaker, maybe. And so the speaker is saying, you cheated on me, and yet here I am trying to justify your mistake. I'm bringing in reason and logic. I'm trying to explain away your mistake. Thy adverse party is thy advocate. This is from a court of law. The adverse party is the other guy that you are suing or that they are suing you. And the advocate is your lawyer. So here the speaker is saying, I am a victim, but at the same time, I am your lawyer. I'm arguing for you. And against myself, a lawful plea commence. And so my arguments actually turn around and are arguing against myself. Such civil war is in my love and hate, that I an accessory needs must be to that sweet thief which sourly robs from me. So the conflict in my heart and mind is so strong that I'm actually helping the person who stole my heart and like stole it away. So the question here is like, it looks like the speaker is blaming themselves, but how sincere is that blame? Are they really angry? And so group 3, when discussing this question, said, you know, on the surface, it looks like the speaker is mad, and that's all that the speaker is talking about. But underneath, the speaker keeps saying things like, I forgive you more than you deserve to be forgiven. And like, I'm already justifying your mistake in this poem. So it feels like even more than blame, the speaker is feeling love uh, for the addressee, even though the addressee has cheated on them. So on the first level, the conventional level, like if I discover my lover has cheated on me, I'm going to get mad at them. But here, because the speaker loves them so much, they are already forgiving their lover. And so we get to the second level, which is, why am I forgiving them so fast? And the speaker gets mad at themselves. And then we reach the third level, which is they realize they're doing this because they love the addressee so much. And that love overcomes any kind of blame or anger, whether it is directed toward the addressee or the speaker themselves. So you can say on one level, yes, they really are blaming themselves. But on the second level, they're blaming themselves for loving so much. And is that, can you really call that a kind of blame? In terms of online language, the speaker is simping so hard. Okay, do you have other thoughts or questions about this one? All right, moving question 4. The form of lines 5 to 8 in Sonnet 60 help to make the poem's point. Okay, so first we have to find out what is the point of this poem. Like as the waves make towards the pebbled shore, so do our minutes hasten to their end. So our minutes, our time rushes to their end. What is the end of our time? Group 4 said death. So this poem seems to be saying life is short, death comes fast. Something like that. And group 4 also noticed, um, which line was it? This line, line 8. Time that gave doth now his gift confound. The time that gives us the gift of life also destroys that gift by bringing us death. That seems to capture the general idea of this poem, right? Time gives us life, time takes it away. And that's why it's a capital T. You know, in traditional English literature, if you see any noun that has a capital letter and seems to be talking about a great and powerful idea, it means God. So the poem is talking about time, but it's actually talking about God. Okay, so if that's the main idea, let's look at lines 5 to 8. Nativity. So when you're born, once in the main of light, so this is the main part of the show, crawls to maturity. So like a baby crawling and then suddenly they've grown up. Wherewith being crowned. Okay, so the word wherewith means with which. This is actually a good rule of grammar. Wherein means in which. Whereby means by which. Wherewith means with which. So with maturity, being crowned with maturity. So they have reached the height of maturity. They have reached the glory days of their life. Suddenly, crooked eclipses against his glory fight. So evil eclipses fight against his glory. Like in the height of his life, things start going downhill. The person starts growing old. And time that gave doth now his gifts confound. And so the time that gave this person life is also giving them death. So that's the idea of these 4 lines, and group 4 caught this idea quite well. But what about the form, the way that this line or that these 4 lines are written? After looking at it for a good long while, group 4 discovered that these 4 lines are one sentence. It's actually 2 sentences combined together, right? And the first subject is nativity. The first verb is crawls. The second subject is time. And the second verb is confound. So from birth to death is one sentence, which adds to the idea that life moves so fast that our minutes hasten to their end. Lines 5 to 8, the more you read, the faster you read, the faster you will reach death in this poem. So like in a single sentence, while you're still trying to understand what this sentence is saying, when you realize what it's saying, you realize that in fact you have already covered the span of a human life, right? Time moves so fast, life is so short. And so lines 9 to 12 talk about this paradox from line 8, right? Time gives us life, time takes it away. So lines 9 and 10, the first line 9 is about giving life, line 10 is about taking it away. Time doth transfix the flourish set on youth. So why does a young person look so beautiful? Because time, new time, but also and delves the parallels in beauty's brow. Why does an older person's face look wrinkly? Also because of time. To delve, like if you use ChatGPT, it thinks that the word delve just means dive, to go into. But delve originally meant to dig in, like paths in the ground. This is farming, 在农耕. Parallels, line after line. Beauty's brow in the forehead of a beautiful person. So why does someone's face have wrinkles? Why does someone's face look older? Because of time. 11, feeds on the rarities of nature's truth. Here, I don't really like the translation in footnote 11. Consumes the most precious things created by the fidelity of nature. What is the fidelity of nature? That doesn't make sense to me. You can think of truth as beauty. So time consumes, feeds on the most beautiful of nature's beauties. And nothing stands but for his scythe to mow. A scythe, you guys know Father, or I guess not, the Grim Reaper, the symbol of death, skeleton, black hoodie, knife, or like a blade. That blade is a scythe, 那个镰刀. Um, a scythe is a blade used to mow grass, to cut grass. Today we use lawnmowers, right? 用割草机. But in the past, they would take a scythe and they would cut down the grass. And this is a traditional comparison symbol of death. Death is a scythe that mows us down, that cuts us down. This is actually quite fun. If you want to go on YouTube and look for like somebody using a scythe, an expert in using a scythe is faster than a lawnmower. 用镰刀割草可以比割草机还快. And it's really fun to watch. Right. So the same time, line 11, that gives us beautiful nature at the same time takes it away and cuts it down. And then the twist, right? And yet to times in hope my verse shall stand. To times here means to future times. So, despite the fact that life is short and death comes for us all, again, I hope that my poetry will last into the future, and that when I praise your worth in my poetry, it can survive the cruel hand of death. Okay, questions or thoughts about this one? All right, let's move to question 5. Who is Sonnet 62 talking to, and why do you think this? So most of this sonnet is praising the speaker themselves. As they say, sin of self-love. The speaker loves themselves too much. Vanity. Um, so the first 8 lines are all praising themselves. But line 9, we have the first turn. But when my glass, which means mirror, shows me myself indeed, which means my actual self. Beated and chapped. Beated means weather beaten, 风霜. Chapped means dry. With tanned antiquity. Tan, today we think of as a color, but tan is how you treat cowhide to make it into leather. 怎么把牛皮变皮革那个过程 is to tan it. And antiquity here just means old age. Mine own self-love quite contrary I read. So what I see in the mirror is opposite to how I love myself so much. And therefore, so self-loving were iniquity. To love myself so much, even when I see how I actually look, is not a good thing. But then we get the conclusion, which is very interesting, and this is what the question is asking. 'Tis thee, myself, that for myself I praise, painting my age with beauty of thy days. If we translate this to modern English, it sounds something like, it is you, myself, for whom I praise myself. And I use the beauty of your youthful days to paint my image of myself, my beautiful image of myself. So the question that is being asked here is, who is that you? Group 5 had 2 answers. Their first answer is that they are thinking of some lover or some friend, some younger person, and calling them myself, my other self, my second self, my better self. Today, we often refer to our partner as my better half. So they're saying, okay, so why do I think I'm so beautiful even though I'm not? Because I have a lover who's younger and beautiful, and I'm using their youth and beauty and adding it to myself. Like, I can't be that ugly and old if someone so young and beautiful is willing to love me. And that answer does make sense. But the second answer that group 5 gave was the speaker is in fact talking about themselves. They're thinking of themselves in 2 different ages. Beauty of thy days is thinking of themselves when they were younger. And so this reading says that the speaker's self-image is based on their idea of themselves when they were a younger person. So I don't know if you know this, but after you graduate, each year doesn't feel too different from the next. And so that's why people wake up at age 45 and say, oh crap, I'm 45. And you have the midlife crisis, 中年危机. Because you don't feel that change every year, once every year starts feeling the same. So that's the kind of idea behind this reading. The speaker still thinks of themselves as a younger person in their glory days, doing great things, being beautiful. And then they look in the mirror and realize, wait, no, that was a long time ago. And it's because they are still painting their self-image with the beauty of their own youth. So, "'tis thee myself" is literally talking to themselves in the past, or talking to their memory of their younger self. So this line is saying, when I love myself so much, when I praise myself so much, I'm actually praising my memory of my younger self. "'Tis thee, my quote or parenthesis younger self, that for myself I praise." And either one can work. In this poem, we don't have a mention of a lover, but it is number 62 in a series of sonnets where other sonnets do mention lovers, and the sonnet itself is traditionally a love poem. So this poem could be about a lover, could be about the speaker's self-image. Both of them make sense. All right, do you have questions about this one or today's discussion or anything at all? Great. So next week, before next week, please finish reading the last 5 sonnets. And then after that, I think we're going to watch a movie. All right, see you next week.